Good evening, or afternoon, or morning, depending on when you are opening to listen to this story. We are reading a new chapter today called Isabella in our book, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH. Let's do a quick summary of yesterday. Yesterday, Mrs. Frisbee has made her way into the rose bush where the rats live, and she's finding some interesting things. There's carpet on the floors, there's lights, there's electricity, they even have an elevator. She met the leader of the rats, whose name is Nicodemus, and he's asked her to wait in the library. And when she went into the library, it's full of books and a chalkboard and a conference area where on the chalkboard it says the plan. So now Mrs. Frisbee has lots and lots of questions about these new rats that she has met. So today we're going to continue reading, and this chapter is called Isabella. Mrs. Frisbee spelled it out slowly. The plan of the rats of NIMH. What or where was NIMH? The name had a strange and faraway sound. Had these rats then come here from someplace else? Did that explain why they had books and electric lights and wires and electric motors? Yet they hadn't been here, or at least there had been rats here for as long as she could remember. Still, that wasn't so very long ago. She wondered what other things they had. Suddenly, she had an almost overwhelming desire to look around, to see what was behind the other doors and down the other corridors and hallways. She went to the door, she opened it up, looked out in the hall. It was entirely deserted and silent, except that when she listened very carefully, she could hear a faint humming in the distance, as if something were running. Maybe another motor. She started out in the hallway, and then she changed her mind. Better not. Nicodemus had been friendly. Why, they'd all been friendly, but very explicit. He had said she was to wait in the library, and she was not there to pry, but she was there to get help. So she went right back into the library, and she closed the door, and she sat on one of the benches. The books on the table were mostly paperback. They were small enough so that the rats could handle them easily, but too big for her. So she sat in front of the blackboard and she looked at it again. And beneath the title across the top, in neatly chalked handwritten letters, were columns and words and figures, and the title said Schedule, and underneath it said January, Group 1, 10, oats, 30 loads. Group 2, 10, wheat, 30 loads. Group 3, 10, corn, 20 loads. Group 4, miscellaneous seeds, probably 10 loads. The rest of the blackboard was also filled with more rows of figures, each headed by the name of a month: February, March, April, May, and so on through July. At the bottom, a separate square was ruled off. Plows, Arthur's group, 14. Plow number 2, complete, January 1st. Plow number 3, complete, February 10th. Plow number 4, complete, March 20th. Mrs. Frisbee stared at all this, trying to make heads and tails of it, but she could not. Why, it was quite incomprehensible. She was still puzzling over it when the door opened and a rat came in. It was a girl rat, small and quite young, judging by the way she looked. She was carrying a pencil and some papers, and looking at the papers as she walked, so that she did not see Mrs. Frisbee at first. And when she did, she gasped and she dropped the papers, scattering them on the floor. Her eyes opened wide. "Who are you?" she asked. "I don't know you. How did you get in?" She backed away towards the door. "It's all right," said Mrs. Frisbee. "I'm a friend of Mr. Age's." The rat was very young indeed, only a child. "But why are you here? Who let you in?" "Nicodemus. He told me to wait here." The girl rat looked doubtful. "You might be a spy." "A spy? Why, how could I be a spy? A spy from where?" "Well, I don't know. From outside." Maybe you're from NIM. Well, I don't even know what a NIM is, said Mrs. Frisbee. That's what you said the rat. But I don't. What is it? Asked Mrs. Frisbee, feeling slightly annoyed. Why, it's a place, the girl rat said. Her alarm apparently subsiding, she began picking up the scattered papers. I'm supposed to be practicing my reading. Well, what kind of a place? It's where we came from. I don't know too much about it. I've never been there. Well, how can you come from there if you've never been there? Oh, my mother and father did. I was born afterward. I think the place is white. Anyway, I know one thing. We don't want to go back. We don't want to get caught. So Mrs. Frisbee thought, that sounds as if, well, whatever Nim was, the rats had escaped from it and they'd come here. But she realized that she was not likely to get very clear information from such a child. Again, she hoped that Nicodemus would explain all of her questions. Did Nicodemus come from Nim too? Yes. And Justin? Yes. Do you know Justin? Yes. Well, I guess you're not a spy then, said the girl rat. She sounded mildly disappointed. Then she added, Justin's not married. She climbed up onto one of the benches and opened a book. Why, he's the best of all. He's not even afraid of dragon. She read in the book for perhaps 30 seconds. She picked up her pencil, then put it down again. Well, I guess I'm just too young to get married. Well, I suppose so, said Mrs. Frisbee. For a while yet, but that won't last long. Well, that's what my mother says, but it seems forever. And Justin might marry somebody else. Well, maybe not, said Mrs. Frisbee, who could see beyond the tip of her nose. You know, he's pretty young himself yet. Hey, what's your name? Isabella. Why, isn't that a pretty name? Oh, it's all right, I guess. Only my brother calls me Izzy. I don't like that. Well, I don't wonder. Where's your brother? At the meeting. He's older. All the men are at the meeting, but my mother didn't go. The mothers don't always go, you know. She's in the grain room packing grain. Packing grain? You know, for the plan. She doesn't like the plan, though. That plan again, thought Mrs. Frisbee. What's the plan? Why doesn't she like it? She asked. Well, it's just, well, the plan for where we're going to live and all that, she doesn't like it because she says it's too hard. No more electric lights, no more refrigerator, no more running water. But she isn't deserting us or anything, not like Jenner did. We didn't like Jenner. Jenner? Who's Jenner? Oh, he was in the group, but he quit. Maybe he went back to NIM. We don't know. Mrs. Frisbee was gradually getting a picture of life in the rat colony. A somewhat confusing one because Isabella was just a child, but nonetheless she was very certain of the things she was saying. They did have a grain room, presumably for food. The females sometimes went to meetings and sometimes not. Nicodemus seemed to be the leader, and they all seemed to have a plan for the future that some of the rats did not like, and one named Jenner had deserted. Or had other rats gone with him? She was just about to ask Isabella when the library door opened and Nicodemus, Justin, and Mr. Aegis entered. Another rat came with them, a stranger. And that, my dear children, is the end of this chapter. So now we've learned a little bit more about their colony. We've learned that they have a lot of modern things. They have electricity, and we know that some of the women like it. They might, but how will that change? How is this plan going to change the way they live? So today, when you read this or when you listen to the story, I want you to think about, first of all, what do you think NIM was? What could NIM possibly be that they came from and they don't want to get caught? Two, what do you think the plan is now? Do you have a different idea since reading yesterday? And third, who in the heck could the stranger be that is with them? So, Have a fabulous day. I can't wait to read tomorrow. Tomorrow's chapter is A Powder for Dragon. Have a fabulous day. Don't forget to email me. I am on my computer almost all day long, and I'll be looking at my email regularly. And I miss you all, and I can't wait to hear from you soon. Have a good day.